I mean, motorcycles are the worst. They really are. There is nothing inherently good about a motorcycle. They are loud, they constantly vibrate, they require constant maintenance or they'll kill you. I don't know of another vehicle where you're the fuselage, where you're the windshield. They're inherently dangerous. It's not a matter of if, it's when. They hardly carry one person, let alone two, let alone anything else. Like, try to go to the grocery store on a motorcycle. You know what you're buying? A diet. They're horrible, horrible machines. So why? You know, why?
Did you ever tell him, like, why? Like,
Wait, sorry. This is Adam and Greg of The Simple Machine. They were the founders of Iron and Air and are basically, you know, my heroes.
this is actually kind of a funny story.
Yeah. Well, we've used your video as like inspiration for almost every project. Make it more like that. We never like got anywhere near it.
No one would ever do it.
Yeah.
No one could ever they were like, oh, that's like, oh, you're not gonna get that. We admired your work for 8 years. 8 years. And then within 15 minutes, we were on a call with you after reaching out to you for the first time. And I think for us, that like blew our minds. And the fact that you instantly, it felt like we clicked right away. And I was like, is this too good to be true?
This is how it's supposed to work, I think.
Yeah. I was like, that was too easy. To commemorate BMW's 100-year anniversary, they gave us the ability to go out and find the most interesting stories of BMW owners. And that's what we're doing. We want to find those people that maybe are not out there boasting about how great they are.
People need examples of how others live life to see what is possible. And I think that's part of the inspiring aspect of these stories.
Connective tissue between all of those is the motorcycle, but they're all using it in very, very different ways to express themselves.
That shot was actually one frame from the GoPro, and I'm about to hit the ground with my head. This was literally the last frame before the camera goes dark. What I love about New York is sort of the energy and the amount of openness of people to listen to ideas, to go after them. At the time, I thought I was going to stay here for 2 years and then go back to Barcelona and open a design studio, but then 21 years later, here we are. I never knew that I was going to be a designer. When I was in high school, I was sort of lost. I was a bad student. The capacity to memorize and regurgitate information wasn't never my biggest skill. But then when I was confronted with a white page, I was able to create things that were not there before. So once I started design school, my entire life changed. To me, design is at the center, at the core of who I am and how I look at life. So the design of my apartment, the design of my garage, my studio, the choices that you make. Design is, for me, it's all of those things. It doesn't have just like a narrow definition. These are the colors that I gravitate towards. And the detail, right? If you don't look at this closely, you don't see that. One of the things that they've done is they cut each one and sort of displace it just enough so it creates a sort of vibration. It's an incredible, simple design, beautiful. This actually is the exact color of the second bike's highlight. It's like a hot orange. But there's so much to learn, whether it's about one specific bike or the racing history, the sort of the aesthetic aspect of BMWs. I mean, there's obviously an obsession. BMWs have been in my life since I was probably 18. I also connect with objects that are older than me. My furniture is from the 60s. My saxophone is 1964. There's something about connecting with the story, sort of knowing that that comes from somewhere beyond a mold in a factory. And I love that about vintage BMW.
To me, riding is about the unexpected, going to and explore places and ultimately putting myself in the way of new experiences. I feel that through riding I learn about the world, and at the same time I get to unravel aspects of myself that get hidden by the business of the everyday. In that way, riding for me is about being fully present in the moment and being able to embrace the now.
Can you talk about Behance?
So Behance is a platform for creatives to showcase and discover creative work. There was no place, to go find creatives. We wanted to organize the creative world, and Behance sort of came out of a necessity. It took us 10 years. We started in 2005. We worked for almost 10 years in there. We got acquired in 2012, and then I left in 2015. 6 months after I left, in June, my sister passed away. She was 38, and sort of that threw me for a loop. It was sort of a dark time, and sort of look at my life through her death. Like, what would I do if I knew I had very little time left, right? And the only thing was this trip, this long trip. And I knew I wanted to do it with my friend Joel. This is the person who showed me, BMWs for the first time. And I called him and I said, hey, I want to leave. And he said, okay, let's do it. That's me, that's Joel. You can see because he's taller. It's very hard to explain a 164-day trip linearly and trying to cover everything that happened. It's sort of like a dream. The trip was done with 2 R80 GSs. They were basically stock bikes that made it all the way from Brooklyn to Ushuaia. There's something about how essential this design is, how well constructed it is, and it's everything that you need. For long distance adventure travel, these bikes are really some of the best. I did have an accident. I didn't adjust my rear suspension well. I was carrying way too much weight, and my front end sort of went. Fascinatingly enough, the bike was fine. We just sort of slowed down and kept going. Since that accident, I'd been thinking about how to sort of merge the new and the old.
Rally handlebars, hazard lights, battery readout with a USB port, heated grip, 14-gallon tank, 1000cc high compression piston, rally air filter, open exhaust, longer Wilbur shock, elongated brake lever, elongated swinging arm, inverted cam, rebuilt transmission with a longer fifth, crank out engine rebuild, WP Pro fork, 320mm brake rotor, caliper, quick release axle, rims, reinforced frame, powder coat, custom rack, custom seat with motor triple tree, right Baja lights,
and also see it through this design exercise of color, shapes, rhythm within the design of the bike itself.
That's how Myth Motor was born.
Now we're taking 2 of them to Africa, 30,000 miles through 28 countries for 6 months, and that would be the real test. I think the beauty of going out there is that you get to experience other people's realities. That is, I think, the difference between tourism and traveling is how you decide to connect with the place. If you keep standing in line with other people from other countries to look at these monuments, you're just going to experience monuments. You're not going to experience culture. I think everyone should at least travel once in their life and just experience the world in a more direct, raw way. I mean, that's the money shot right there.
And
God. He's gonna put this in. You can loosen up, man, because he wouldn't put it in. My name is Matias Corea, and I'm a designer.
I actually went through Long Island and I met Billy Joel. He offered one of his larger BMW motorcycles with like a fairing, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna just stick with my old girl. I started photographing motorcycles kind of from the get-go. I started looking for like motorcycle bars and going to races and things like that just on my own. That was the start of my motorcycle journey. The key to a great photograph for me is definitely showing real life. I'm a big fan of making things look as real as possible. The motorcycle culture is so visceral and real to me because I ride, I'm a part of it. I'm friends with a lot of riders. I love to show the lifestyle because it's something that I'm passionate about. I think we all put up with the danger aspect of motorcycling because it's a feeling that can't be replicated. It's the most free that I've ever felt. I ride a BMW R90/6 from 1976. I got the motorcycle as an engagement ring for my husband. I had no idea he was going to propose, and he surprised me with a motorcycle that I had wanted for a while, and yeah, it was the greatest gift of all time. I call her the Frau. My favorite thing about the /6 is definitely the way it takes care of me. I knew from the start when I first got on that motorcycle that it would like take me to great places, but it would also take care of me during that process. And I've ridden it thousands of miles and it always has. The trip that I took, it was probably the longest and the most powerful, was a 5,000-mile solo trip from here, from Nashville to Nova Scotia. It was really important for me to have this like whole kind of solo experience, and it was really empowering. I went from Nashville through the Blue Ridge up through New York City and through Quebec, and then out to Nova Scotia and then down through Maine, back home. I hit quite a bit of rain, and I only packed one pair of socks, which was a big mistake. Hike was just amazing. I mean, it really handled everything. I got up to the campground, and the guy at Meat Cove, he said, "I can't believe you just rode up here on that." And my favorite picture of the whole trip was standing on the seat overlooking the bay. Yeah, I'll always love that picture. She did such a beautiful job of taking care of me. She was a good lady. I think there's a relationship between riding and my photography because when I'm riding, I'm always inspired. There's something about living slower, doing things slower, that gives you a greater experience. You're digging in more, so you're gonna experience more, and you're gonna have the time to like see things and do things in a more thoughtful way. Being a new mom has definitely changed, but also kind of simplified my approach to things. I mean, I feel like I'm doing better work now that I'm a mom. Because I'm there with a purpose, I want to like make something that my daughter is gonna be really proud of. Because if I'm gonna spend the time away from her, I want it to count. I hope that my daughter takes away from me just to live your life as much as you can and to, find the things that make you happy. I hope that she finds herself in a more organic way. I'm really grateful to my parents that they let me do that because I'm not a girly girl. I never fit into a box. I was definitely an outsider, and it was hard learning that, but You find out eventually who you are and it works and you just roll with it. My name is Yve Assad. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm a photographer.
You have a BMW tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I regret about it is the very thing that I liked about it in the first place is that the people who know what this is will know what this is. Like other BMW guys will know that that's a BMW key.
What do most people think it is?
A hairdryer.
I thought it was a hairdryer first.
See? I've always made art ever since I was a kid. I used to love to go to like the Curran Museum and look at this old Picasso painting, and one of the things that was so beautiful about it was just the grime that's built up on the painting over time. I kind of wanted to have that timeless look on my paintings, but immediately, without having to wait, 100 years. I figured out the technique that I'm using now when I started working with a furniture maker. He was making antique furniture using wax finish, and I had made a painting that I had finished, but I didn't quite know what to do with, so I just took a bunch of that wax and I put it on the painting, and I assumed that it was ruined because it looked terrible. And then I buffed it out, and it was the exact finish that I had sort of been looking for years prior to that. I feel like success as an artist is being able to live and do my work uncompromised and have people in my town acknowledge that that's what I do. Nobody expects anything else from me except for to just keep making paintings. And to me, that's success. There's sort of like a nostalgia of this area, like riding by the old brick mill buildings, the old rivers, and stopping at old general stores to get lunch. I just love thinking about the fact that people were looking out of these very windows when Jesse James was on the loose, or like when Abraham Lincoln was shot. They heard the news from in here, maybe even from this room. That's one of the things that's like super inspiring about living and working in an old house. There's something about the wear over time, something like being used. It's the reason why I love old motorcycles. I love the old metal. So I'm always obsessed with keeping that history alive, keeping people aware of what came before them. Mine's a 1970 R75, and the 1970 actually has the kickstart and the electric start, and the kick from the side here like this, I feel like is so classy. So you can walk up to the bike with a tuxedo on and it's this is how you turn the key on. You basically just push that in like that. I also love this ride-off stand because I can just sit on it, start the bike, and just go. I started riding motorcycles probably like my freshman year in college. I started really getting into like the older bikes, and it was because of BMW motorcycles. I just love the look of them. I always knew I wanted a BMW. Anything that I'm really excited about, anything that I really like, whether it's like motorcycles or guitar, I dive super deep into things.
Why? What is it about you that makes you want to do that?
It's probably it probably has something to do with ADD, I bet. I get obsessed with things, and yeah, I just dive deep into them. I feel like I'm never quite satisfied. I always want to keep making things, which I think is a good thing. I think that drive to continue to make things better. When I'm making a painting, I want to prove in the painting that I'm intimately involved in the process. So like, I want to add an element to the painting that speaks to the fact that I actually know this machine. Like if I do a painting of a BMW and I've got the carburetors laying on the ground, I want to have a wrench laying on the ground that happens to be the size wrench that you need to adjust the carburetors. People can tell when something's authentic. I love it when somebody sees a painting of mine and they've never considered themselves a person who likes fine art, and they're like, oh my God, I love this painting. It's, you know, it's got all the things that like I work with. It's got like a wood plane, or it's got different wrenches. And to me, when that happens, I love to be able to be like, yeah, there it is. It's just that gut feeling that you're sort of drawn to this painting because something resonates. Being an artist allows me to be exactly who I am. And it sort of keeps me sane. I feel like if I'm not making art, then my brain turns in on itself and I start becoming a hypochondriac and dealing with anxiety, and it's sort of like the remedy for all of that. The town of Jaffrey asked me to speak at their 250th anniversary, and that to me feels like success. Like having your hometown acknowledge what you've done and actually want to like give you a platform to listen to you speak is a huge thing, especially being that like I grew up in this town and my family kind of had a reputation in this town. My father was in and out of jail. I was definitely the poorest kid in town. So for the town to actually want to hear from me and be proud of me or the things that I've done is sort of like that feels like success to me. My name is Chris Myott. I'm a painter from Jaffrey, New Hampshire. Did that one work?
Found this ad for an R65. This guy was selling it up in Harlem for like $800, and I just bought it. And that was my first bike. And it started up the next day, but it had no power. It was coughing and choking. And I found this shop that did European bike repairs. So I slugged it over there. This guy came out of the shadows. Dude goes, "You want to know what's wrong with your bike?" And he just takes his boot and he puts it right through my pipes. And he goes, "You don't have any pipes." And then he just walked away, just walked into the back of a shop into the darkness. And my mouth was like wide open. I was like, who is this guy?
And I was just like, who is this guy?
I'm a mechanic.
Less is more.
I do vintage European motorcycles.
This guy is talking to me like he's my best friend. I've never even met him. My initial reaction is like, are you kidding me? You want to go like that?
And you eventually kicked my bike.
Yes, but then, as you'll remember, you bought a trashed out motorcycle.
I didn't know. But do I still have the bike? Yes, I still have it. And an R65 LS. And an R60 that I shipped to Italy. Because what's better than loping around the boot on a vintage BMW? Nothing. I mean, really, who do I think I am? So I'm the director. My name is Roberto Serrini. I am a filmmaker, but that's not really true. I'm a travel writer, a photographer. I direct commercials. I fly drones. I'm a collector of objects. Revolutionary war buckles, Scientology e-meter, first memory module, fossilized fish, lots of knives, Geiger counter, kabuki mask, drafting stencil, writing set, a ton of lighters, opium pipes, Soviet bootleg record on a chest x-ray. a collector of cameras. I'm an old cookbook fanatic, and I'm a writer. I also make films. And motorcycles have always been a cornerstone for the work that I do. There's something that is just fascinating and enigmatic about them and mysterious. And I've spent all of my career, tangent with these machines and trying to figure them out, trying to figure out why we keep slinging our legs over the seats. And on this crazy journey, I've documented unique culture like the American Wall of Death. I've documented unique riders like Keith Hale or David Gannett or Alan Tenenbaum. I've documented mavericks like Erica Bean and Elspeth Beard, the first woman around the world on a motorcycle. I've also gotten to do really interesting commercial work for brands like Indian, where I got to revive an original 101 Scout that started it all. I've relaunched the new Honda Goldwing. Quite literally launched it. I've done spots for Ducati, for Norton, for Revit, BMW, you name it. And what I can honestly say is that it's not about the bike or the brand. It's about this world that riders create. And that world's given me so much. And it all started with one little film that almost didn't happen. And I begged you to shoot your shop. And you said, no, never.
I did.
Not on my dead body.
I did.
I will never be on camera. I spit on people like you. This is what you said to me.
I did. And I said it because I think if you really love what you do and it's personal to you, how could you possibly capture all of the years that I've put into the love of my life and my career? It's like, it doesn't even make sense to me, And yes, you did. And you have exponentially changed my life. Your work has really changed how people perceive collectible motorcycles and also the respect I always aspired to have.
That's really sweet. What is your Venmo? I just want to... Should I send the money now or... I owe a lot to my little BMW. A lot. I owe a lot to motorcycles in general. They've been an amazing vehicle. That's brought me so many unique experiences and stories, and it's given me so many best friends and special moments, and of course it's brought me to so many amazing places.
New York City. Yeah, Poland.
But the world that bikes create is so much more than just the machine. And I still ask myself why all the time. Why do we keep riding these crazy contraptions that where there's 5,000 explosions happening between your legs every minute? Why? Why is it? And honestly, I think it's because, when everything is just right, when the engine is humming just perfect, and the road is canted at the right angle, and the tires are warm, and the sun is shining, and the earth is spinning just fast enough, and the planets are all aligned, you get that moment, You get that perfect moment. That one moment where you just kind of disappear and, everything is just perfect. That's what drives us to get on there, is that pursuit of absolute perfection. And I think that's what all these people have in common. They're constantly in that pursuit of perfection. Not just on the bike, but in their daily life, how they express themselves in the world through their art, through their language, through who they are. And I think if you ride a motorcycle, you have that common trait. You're constantly trying to find that perfection, that moment where everything lines up. And that's the why. That's why we do this. Or maybe they're just really fun to ride.